Hi everyone, this video is super duper cool. It took me a long time to figure out this technique, and it was for the Founder Circle retreat in Utah last month, which is for the top 20 demonstrators in Canada with Stampin' Up! And the top 100 demonstrators in the United States. So it was a big deal, and I really wanted to make my card swaps really special. So I had this idea for this technique in my head, and it did take a few hours to actually get it out of my head and onto paper, but it was so worth it because I love this technique, and I just know that you will too. So I'm calling it the inside out embossing technique because we are putting the embossing folder pattern inside the framelit shapes. So the framelit is on the outside and the embossing folder is on the inside. So let's get started. Alright, the first thing you want to do is you want to pick your framelit of choice, and I'm going to go with the Deco Labels. And I'm not going to get the largest one, I'm going to get the second to largest one. So this is going to be my framelit shape that I'm going to use on my card. Now you're going to need a thin piece of cardboard to cut out into this shape. If you don't have cardboard, what you can use is the backing that comes in with our designer series paper. They're 12 by 12. So what you want to do is cut two pieces at 5.5 by 4.25, which I have right here, and glue those together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once you have this cut out, it's 2 layers, you want to repeat that so that you have a total of 2 pieces. They're both double layered because you've glued them together, and then you're going to stick those 2 together. Make sure you line them up really evenly because you really want to have a bit of thickness there. The cardboard that I normally like to use, it is a bit thicker, and that's exactly what we've created by putting basically 4 of those pieces together. So that is ideal. So the next step is you're going to put in your multi-purpose platform in your Big Shot, and it's not open. You've got all your tabs closed. Put a little bit of adhesive behind your piece of cardboard. Take your favorite embossing folder. Today I'm using the Pretty Print embossing folder from our seasonal celebration catalog. It's on page 24 and it's $9.95, and I love this. Now you can tell I've already been using it because it's got some leftover residue there from the last time I did this. So I've got some adhesive on there, and I'm just placing it right on the middle. I'm taking a piece of crisp cantaloupe cardstock. Now this is cut at 5.25 by 4 because I'm going to mat this on my card, which will be 5.5 by 4.25. Line up my cardstock. Now I'm going to put it on top of my multi-purpose platform without a cutting pad underneath, which is what you would normally do when you put this through the Big Shot. You would have your 2 cutting pads and you would have that open to tab 2. But we're going to put it on top, no cutting pad underneath, but you do want a cutting pad on top. And that's because you've got that thickness from that piece of chipboard already. So crank it through. And when you open it, ta-da! You just have your embossing folder image on the inside of your card instead of the outside of your card. That took me about 4 hours to figure out one day, but I did it, and I'm thrilled because this is just too darn cool. Now we want to have the shape of our framelit to go around the piece that we have just embossed with our embossing folder. And to do that, we are going to take the multi-purpose platform, open it up all the way, put on a cutting pad, put on a shim. This is again the cardboard that comes in the back of our 12 by 12 designer series paper, and not every machine is going to require a shim. Every Big Shot's a little bit different, so you may have to play around a little bit. So I've got my silicone pad on top of my shim. Next, I'm going to lay on my cardstock, and I'm going to put my framelit on top with the ridges facing up. Because if we put it with the ridge down, of course it's going to cut that out, and we don't want that to happen. So put the ridge side up. Now we're going to put on our cutting pad, and we're going to crank it through. And it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, but there's magic happening. See, when you remove that, cool. See, so you've got the shape, and it's kind of raised up, and that's from the silicone pad. Isn't that neat? So now you can go ahead and make a card. So I'm taking my early espresso and one of our Stampin' sponges. And I'm just sponging the edge of the crisp cantaloupe piece that we have run through the Big Shot. And I'm going to really lightly emboss the letters on the inside just so they can pop out a tiny little bit. Okay. So next, I have taken some of the really cool paper that comes in the Thankful Tablescapes Simply Created kit. There's a ton of paper in there. That's going to last me forever. And I've cut two pieces, 1 by 4, and I'm just going to cut them out with my scallop border punch. I'm going to do that to both pieces. I'm going to take some snail adhesive, and I know this is going to be wider than I want, so I'm actually just going to kind of put it on the center there, and then I'll trim off the excess. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm adding a bit more ink onto the white just to blend it in with the rest of the card. Next, I'm going to take some of my early espresso with the Gorgeous Grunge stamp set. And if you haven't used this set yet, you're really going to want to get it. It's like an addiction, this stamp set. I can't stop using it. Lots of fun little spots. I'm going to stamp off a little bit so it's not too dark. And just stamp it there. And I think that's enough. I'm going to go ahead and adhere it onto my card base. Pretty. So I've taken my clear block and I'm just scribbling on some markers, and I've just used Always Artichoke. I've got some Tangerine Tango, some soft suede, and a bit of the crisp cantaloupe, and I'm going to take a little bit of my Cajun Craze. Next, I'm going to take my aqua painter. Okay. Now that I've got that done, I'm just going to go in with my yellow kind of willy-nilly. I'm taking my Magnificent Maple and I'm inking it up with my early espresso. And I'm going to stamp that right on top, and I'm just going to hold it down just for a minute because I really want that ink to saturate into the cardstock. So it might be hard to tell on camera, but all those colors are now coming through my maple. And now I'm just going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut it out. So I've got my maple leaf all ready to go for the card. For the sentiment, I'm using a really cute stamp set called Banner Greetings, and it's a hostess only stamp set. So you need to book a party or place a minimum qualifying order so that you can get this set for free. You can't purchase it, but you can get it for free, which is even better. And I'm going to use the Wild Wasabi, and the stamp I'm using says Thankful for You. So I've inked it up, and now I'm just holding it down for a few minutes because when it's a solid stamp, you really want it to be nice and bold. And I'm going to cut that out as well. And this is a really easy, quick image to cut out. And I'm not cutting right along the lines. I'm cutting just just on the edge of them. And I'm actually going to leave that little bit of white there because I'm going to tuck it under my leaf. I've gone ahead and I've taken a piece of our burlap ribbon and I've cut it, and I've just cut the edges, and all I've done is I've folded it in half and then just cut it at an angle. And I want that to go in the center of my card, so I'm just adding some adhesive, and I'm putting it on my card first because it doesn't really roll nicely on the ribbon like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of snail onto that white. So I'm just putting a couple dimensionals behind my little banner. To finish this card, I've just added one of our little designer natural buttons with a little bit of our baker's twine, and there it is, one completed card. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching and happy stamping!